County, and I'm like, not filling that out. All right, welcome everybody to today's regular town council meeting. I'm going to call the meeting to order. It is 3:01, and can we get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Reeves? Here. Councilmember Tripp?
Here.
Councilmember Knight?
Here.
Vice Mayor McKee?
Here.
Mayor Moeller?
Here. Can we all stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And can I get a motion to adopt today's agenda?
I'll move to adopt today's agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Town clerk, when would you like us to use our button for today's meeting?
Well, we don't have any administrative items that we will vote on, so we can go ahead and do a voice vote for everything.
All right, I will do a voice vote. All those in favor of adopting the agenda, we have a motion and a second. Say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed or abstaining? That passes unanimously. Thank you. Now it's time for council member announcements. I will start. I don't want to take Sam's thunder away. She might give us some more details later. Mark your calendars. April the 18th from 12 to 3 is Shred It Day in the back of the community center parking lot. And then a couple weeks after that is our annual townwide garage sale. Always an extremely popular event with usually a lot of alcohol flowing. And that starts whenever the sun comes up, I suppose. Followed the following week by the townwide cleanup day, which we have an opportunity to throw all the stuff that didn't sell at the garage sale on the curb. And my last announcement is that we will be raising our Earth Day flag immediately after today's meeting if it is not raining. If it is raining, I'll instruct the staff to put it up tomorrow. So with that, any other council member announcements?
Mayor, I just wanted to announce that coming up April 16th, that's a Wednesday, there will be a picnic with a vet event at the Veterans Home. This is where town residents get a picnic together and share it with a veteran up in the Heroes Cafe. It starts at 11 and usually ends up by about 1 o'clock. It's a great event, and if you're interested, you can contact me, preeves@yville.com, and I will direct you to how to participate in that.
Thank you. Any other council comments? Seeing none, I will move on. We have two proclamations and recognitions. I am going to start by giving a proclamation. Cassie McKee is here. Meet me at the podium. This is for Sexual Assault Awareness Month.
Her last name is McKee?
It is.
Oh, we've long lost sisters, maybe.
Perhaps. I've actually never heard my last name anywhere else besides when I come here, so I'm always like, huh.
I love it. I love
Are
it.
you a McKee too?
He is.
Oh, we have another McKee down here too. All right. Well, thank you very much. And this is a proclamation from the town of Yountville declaring April 2025 Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Whereas News, Domestic Violence and Sexual Abuse Services is commemorating 43 years of service to survivors of domestic violence and sexual abuse in Napa County, and having opened as the county's Rape Crisis Center in 2010 to provide safety to those experiencing sexual abuse, and whereas in 2001, the National Sexual Violence Resource Center launched the first Sexual Assault Awareness Month campaign, and in 2009, the Obama administration officially recognized April as National Sexual Assault Awareness Month, enshrining our country's commitment to promoting education of sexual violence, promoting consent, ending victim blaming, and showing support for victims and survivors. And whereas Sexual Assault Awareness Month is about promoting safety, respect, and equality, and standing up and speaking out against harmful cultural norms and attitudes that allow sexual violence to persist. This year's national campaign of Together We Act, United We Change emphasizes the importance of communities working together to prevent sexual assault, abuse, and harassment. And whereas rape, sexual assault, and sexual harassment harm our community, statistics from the United States Center of Disease Control shows that over half of women and almost 1 in 3 men have experienced sexual violence involving physical contact during their lifetimes, and that 1 in 4 women and about 1 in 26 men have experienced completed or attempted rape. Sexual violence disproportionately affects women, minors, and racially and ethnic minority groups who experience a higher incident of sexual violence. And whereas, by observing April as Sexual Assault Awareness Month, we show that our community is committed to supporting survivors and working towards the prevention of sexual violence across generations. Now, therefore, let it be resolved, I, Margie Moeller, Mayor of the Town of Yountville, State of California, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the laws of Napa County in California, join news, advocates, and communities across the country in taking action to prevent sexual violence. I do hereby proclaim April 2025 as Sexual Assault Awareness Month in Yountville, and I ask the entire community to join in their efforts, not only in April, but all year long, to be part of the effort to end sexual violence. Thank you very much. Would you like to say a few words?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Thank you. Sorry, bear with me. There's
Okay.
more than a few words.
Okay.
And may
Thank
I leave brochures up here too?
You can leave them with the town clerk.
Perfect. Then, on behalf of News, I would like to thank the town of Yountville for its recognition of Sexual Assault Awareness Month this April. As Napa County's Rape Crisis Center, News is committed to ensure every sexual assault and sexual abuse survivor feels the resilience that is inside each and every one of us. In addition to our main administrative office on Pear Tree Lane, we are proudly co-located inside the Monarch Justice Center, which just allows us to work in partnership with our friends at the Courage Center, Victim Witness, and our local law enforcement agencies. Sexual violence affects all of us on some level. In fiscal year 2023-2024, News provided services to nearly 1,800 of our Napa County community members, of which 288 were survivors of sexual abuse, and nearly half of those were children. 5 were from Yountville. At News, our sexual assault counselors consistently offer a safe place for individuals and families to receive wraparound support. We recognize that survivors in the LGBTQ+ and immigrant communities are dealing with escalating threats and fears for their safety, whether working, attending school, or attempting to seek vital support services. Now, more than ever, it is critically important that our community wrap our caring arms around survivors and let them know where it is safe to seek assistance. News's services are 100% confidential. All survivors are welcome and can feel safe that we will never share their information with anyone or any agency without the survivor's written informed consent. News services are also voluntary. Survivors do not have to do anything to receive them. This year's campaign coins Together We Act, United We Change, and it emphasizes the importance of communities working together to prevent sexual assault, abuse, and harassment. Prioritizing education as a first step in empowering communities to be a part of the solution and uplifting the voices of survivors, especially those from our most vulnerable communities. This proclamation is one pathway towards our united goal. You can check out our window display at the DA's window on First Street during the month of April, and check out our website for more Sexual Assault Awareness Month activities. We hope that you are inspired to support News and our efforts to end sexual violence. Please consider becoming a volunteer or making a donation to support our vital programs and services. I'll be sharing brochures, and if you'd like to share it with someone you know, please do. Please sign up to raise awareness through our annual Walk a Mile event. Our 24-hour helpline number is easy to remember, 255-NEWS. So give us a call to chat about the crucial work that News is doing and how you, our community, can lift it up. Thank you for your continued support of News and survivors across Napa Valley. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So next we have a couple new employees. We're going to, we have one in Aaron's department and one in John Fern's department. So Aaron, take it away.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to do Aaron Ebach. Yes, it's going to be confusing. We're working on it. We're coming up with solutions to eliminate the confusion. She'll be the new management analyst in the Planning and Building Department. Aaron brings a wealth of experience in land use and community planning. She has managed comprehensive and area plans, conducted policy analysis, and worked closely with transportation planners, engineers, and architects to develop urban planning solutions. Her background also includes leading community engagement efforts, grant writing, and facilitating public outreach strategies. She will be using the working title of Principal Planner to help the public understand her role in the department. We're very excited to have her expertise on board. With that, I'll turn it over to Aaron.
You want to say a few words?
I know, we clapped too soon.
Oh, okay. I wasn't prepared for this. I'm very excited to be here and very grateful for the opportunity to serve the town of Yountville, and excited to get to know you all better, as well as the members of the ZDRB. So thank you for this opportunity.
Well, welcome.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm your Public Works Director, and I would like to introduce Greg Stetler. He's a utility operator at our wastewater treatment plant, utility operator 2. Greg joins us from the city of Santa Rosa, where he also worked as a wastewater 2 operator. He has hands-on experience doing the things that we do out at the wastewater treatment plant, as well as the pump station, monitoring pump station infrastructure, operating SCADA systems, system pressures, and making sure storage and flow adjustments happen. He also has been responsible for water quality monitoring at valve exercising and overseeing operations on the 42-mile geyser delivery pipeline, which supports geothermal energy. So his technical skills and operational knowledge are a great asset to our team, and we're welcome to have him. And I told him he wasn't have to give a speech, so you're on the spot now, buddy.
I'm glad to be here. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you. All right. Great. 2 new employees. Welcome. And I've heard that we have paths that cross through the state of Kansas, so we can talk about the Kansas City Chiefs offline sometime. So, this is time for public comment that's not any items that is not on the agenda today. If you'd like to come up.
Yes.
Give us your name.
Good afternoon. My name
You
is...
can lower that. Make it comfortable.
Is that
There you
better?
Go. Perfect. Yes.
Good afternoon. My name is Roberta Kapchandi. I live on 1005 State Lane, and in 2004 we built our home, the winery, and planted our vineyard. In the past 10 years, we have had various issues with water. The winery is on well water, but our home is on city water. In the past couple of years, we have probably received at least a dozen boil water notices. Yes. And on Sunday at 6 o'clock, I had no water at all, and no one had reached out to me to tell me what was going on. So I checked all of my plumbing equipment to make sure everything in the house was functioning properly. And hopefully, I hope to arise to running water Monday morning, which I did not. So I had received a notice with some utility names and numbers on that notice. So I quickly called a gentleman by the name of Mike Quinn, who answered the phone, said he had left a message for me Sunday, but I believe the message was sent to the winery and nobody was at the winery to receive it. So I would like to suggest that possibly you look at your contact information and make sure you have the right information. Anyway, he went on to explain to me that we had a major break
and that this affected certain houses off of the Yountville Crossroad down to Silverado Trail. He also said that I asked him when he thought that this might be rectified, and he thought by the end of the day, but he said that he would give me a call when everything was back up and running. So shortly in the early afternoon, I received a call, and yes, my water was running, but I was advised that I should, for the next 48 hours, boil water. Now, I am bringing this only to your attention because I feel that something is not being taken care of in the proper manner, or we would not be continuing to have these issues almost on a monthly basis. So I am asking you to look at whoever your contractor is that is doing this work, because he obviously isn't doing it to correct it, or we would not have it reoccurring on a monthly basis. So I would just like to thank you all for your time and listening to my point of view, and I'm hoping that you will rectify this so that we do not have to continue with this issue. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Director Ferns, could you just give us a little education on wholesale versus retail water and how that system works?
So
with the
just
town?
briefly, the town purchases water from Calvet, and our out of town, which is located at Rector Reservoir on the other side of Silverado Trail. And so we have 30 out of town customers that are more affected by Calvet operations than the in-town customers, just by the nature of the piping and the geography. And so, unfortunately, when the Calvet has difficulties with their system, the out-of-town customers are affected more frequently than the in-town customers, because we can switch to the in-town customers onto Napa Water. Unfortunately, for this particular instance, Calvet did have a water line break in their system at the plant plus or minus 3 weeks ago, which reduced the pressures to the out-of-town customers, but they had water for the duration. At the end of the repair, they did have to go on a 2-day boil water notice until Calvet could ensure their water was safe to deliver. A week after the water was turned back on, the town experienced a failure of one of our own pipes that we own and operate outside of town. That failure happened on Sunday afternoon, and so by 4 o'clock we had turned the water off and tried to notify our customers. Fortunately, we did have a contractor come out and repair it on Monday morning, but because the line was broken, we have to do the same 48-hour testing of the water to make sure it's safe. So those customers are halfway through that 48-hour period with the water line, with the water testing and the boil water nose. And so the out-of-town customers are subject to more frequent boil water notices due to Calvet operations, not necessarily the town operations, but we are partnering with Calvet to try to improve that situation. We do have a capital improvement project on the books to replace the water line that failed on Sunday. It didn't fail, but it developed a leak. And we are working on a project with Calvet, so if Calvet has further problems, we can provide our customers water with way less frequency of boil water nose.
All right. Thanks for that explanation and update. So thank you very much. Any other public comment that's not on items on today's agenda? Seeing none, I am going to bring it to our consent calendar. So we have items A through J on our consent calendar. Before I ask for a motion, or if anybody wants to do anything, I was going to take
Yeah, just one brief oral report on item 8J as required by the Brown Act. These involve employment agreements, so we are required to give just a brief report. It can stay on consent, though. These are amendments to the employment agreements with your department heads, and they bring them all in line to standardize them. So this is the same provision that's in the other most recent employment agreement that you all approved with your planning and building director. And so this will be consistent throughout all of the agreements. It will authorize the town manager to provide a discretionary bonus up to 5% of their base salary, and that will be the same for all department heads. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Question?
I would, not a question, but I would like to kind of isolate and highlight letter C.
Can we go to public comment, and I'll come back and ask council if they would like to
Thank you.
make a motion or any changes. You have a question for Gary?
I do.
Gary, sorry.
And probably I should have read the previous versions, but is the 5% discretionary bonus new? I mean, I realize it might be in the most recent one, but it's not in all of them.
It is in the most recent one. There has always been the authority of the town manager to provide some bonus.
Okay.
It did not used to be tied to a percentage, though. It was a dollar amount.
Okay. Well, I support that. I think good work should be recognized, and yes, so I support that.
Okay. Does the public, your time to comment on any of our consent calendars if you'd like? Items. Seeing none, I am going to bring it back for council. Council Vice Mayor McKee, did you have would you like to pull an item for just further discussion?
Yes, item C, please.
Okay. So I'll take a motion that we approve items A, B, D, E, F, G, H, I, and J. I'll make the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, and we are using our buttons to vote.
Can we have a slight discussion or after we vote, maybe?
You want to pull a certain item?
And voice vote.
Yeah.
Just a comment.
Okay, yeah. Let's go. We'll see how it goes, and then we can certainly take a comment, and then we can talk
I'm
about.
sorry, Mayor, can we do a voice vote for that?
We certainly can. Something popped up on our calendar, so it made me want to hit a button. Anyway, so with that, all in favor of A, B, D, E, F, G, H, I, and J, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstention? Any comments on those specific items?
I just wanted to make a comment on item G, that I am hoping that the council will be open to speaking about that particular item at our April 29th meeting as a possible investigatory project.
So we just approved that, so can you comment on that?
I think the Councilmember Reeves and I talked about having certain fees considered for subsidy, and I do think that's within your authority. And so when we get to April 29th, maybe leading up to that, you can kind of share with me what fees you would like considered by the council, and then I can bring that forward through goal setting.
Okay. All right, now.
Mayor, I just have one quick comment.
Yep.
I just wanted to say I always want to take an opportunity to do that. That I do support item J and the amendments to the employment agreements. But most importantly, as always, I want to say that I want to thank our Director King and Director Town Clerk Gady and Director Ferns and Director Holland for the work that you do for the community. So thank you for your leadership.
Okay, consent item C, we're going to pull. Vice Mayor McKee, would you like to start a discussion?
Yes, I am definitely in agreement that we put in this statement on file that's valuating, supporting, and protecting marginalized communities. As we're supporting one another and being fully welcoming community, I think we commit to making a safe, welcoming place to work with our community, to support and protect neighbors with care, and to seek a creative and create better lives and places for all. And I would like to suggest that this be highlighted because it's so important, but also that we all have an opportunity to sign this. So as we're focusing on a Yountville focus, we together can stand strong and in support.
All right, I Very supportive of that. Does the rest of the council? Okay.
Yes.
So what we'll have to do is just circulate that by DocuSign? Is that what?
We can do it via DocuSign.
Okay, that'll probably be the most expeditious before you
Absolutely.
forward it on to the organization. All right. And which area would you like highlighted? You want something highlighted in bold? Is that what you were suggesting in the in there?
No, there was
Just a
nothing in particular to highlight in bold. I think this statement as it is strong. It lists the marginalized communities that we work with and have as our neighbors, but I just want to make sure that we're all supporting it together.
okay.
Mayor,
Yes.
perhaps highlighting it on our website?
I suppose this would be there somewhere.
Sure. Yeah, we can make some statement. I don't know where you'd put it. I'll rely on Hillary to
Okay.
decide the appropriate
Well,
place.
you guys consider.
We'll make sure we share it appropriately.
Okay.
Yeah,
that'd
stronger
be great.
together.
All right. So I will take a. Do we have a motion to approve consent item C? And a second, please.
I'll second.
All.
To approve.
Okay, we'll move
and
to
thank you,
approve.
Vice
and
Mayor,
we'll
I'll
use-
second.
Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? Okay. We finished our consent calendar. We have no guest presentations and no public hearings and no administrative items. But just to remind everybody, we've been here since noon, so it's not like this is a short meeting for us. But just a comment, staff presentations and informal reports. We do have one. And I'm going to ask Jason to come up. He's our IT guru, and we are going to receive a presentation and a report on the completion of broadband-related engineering and feasibility studies. So take it away for us.
Yes, good afternoon, Mayor and Vice Mayor and Council. I am Jason Bernard. I am an Information Systems Administrator and a member of the Communications and Clerk Department for the town of Yountville. I'm here to introduce CBG Communications, and they are going to present the results of the Local Agency Technical Assistance, LATA for short, grant-supported broadband-related engineering and feasibility study and partnership development opportunity, analysis, and review, and there will be a quiz after this on that name. So with us via Zoom, we have Thomas Robinson and Dick Nielsen from CBG Communications.
Great. Thank you, Jason, and thank you, Mayor and Council and others at the meeting for giving us this opportunity to...
Let me see if I can get this turned up, or if you could speak a little louder. So we want.
Okay. Let's see if I can get a little closer.
Everybody could hit a volume button if you have one.
Let's see. I do.
This is improving. Thank you.
I think you're good,
Okay.
Thomas.
All right. Let's try that. Okay.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Again, let us know if you can't hear us at any point. So we've been working with the town of Yountville since approximately the end of 2023. Beginning of 2024 on this project. With me today is Dick Nielsen. He's our senior engineer. Two other project team members who were integral to the project, Christine Rivers, our senior research associate, and Andrew Intricate, our GIS specialist, are not with us today, but had critical roles in the project, and you'll see some of their work as we go through. So the project was divided into two key parts. One is the broadband engineering feasibility study, and the other one is the partnership development review and analysis, and you'll see how the two intertwine. So I'm going to turn it over to Dick, our senior engineer, to talk about the engineering study, and he'll move through some of the evolution of the study pretty quickly, and then we want to focus on the three phases of proposed network development that we have identified during this study. Okay, Dick?
Okay, yeah, actually, Tom started to talk to Steve Rogers back in September 22, so it dates back that far that we started to think about a project. But so anyway, at that time, we were at the understanding that significant portions of the town were not served with broadband, including the Veterans Home area, and then the mobile home parks were shown on maps, old maps that the FCC kept. That turned out they weren't very accurate, but we designed the project based on that, and it has evolved over the past 2 years, year and a half, to overcome what we found out to be with the new maps, that the entire town was pretty well served. Now, one thing to keep in mind, we're talking about service availability here. In other words, if somebody, cost aside, whether they know how to use a computer or not, or think they need to, could they get broadband at their home? Is it available to them? And the answer was, with few, if any exceptions, the answer is yes. Broadband is defined as 100 megabits download and 20 megabits upload. And so we looked at the maps. We looked at maps from the state. I was actually out there a year ago or so and walked around the town and identified that, yes, indeed, broadband is available throughout the town, including those mobile home parks, and including the Veterans home area across the highway. This is what the new FCC maps look like. And this is a portion of Yountville. I don't know how well you can see it on whatever screen you're looking at, but you can click on any of these little green dots. And if they're green, they mean that they have broadband available to them. I just randomly picked an address, 108 Champaign Drive, and they have, according to the FCC, AT&T copper, which is DSL, which is not really broadband. Whoops, I'm sorry. Where did I go? There we go. It's not really broadband. But then you have satellite providers, including SpaceX or Starlink, whichever they're known as. And then the big player in town is certainly Comcast or Xfinity. And they are well within well above, I should say, today's definition of broadband. So then what are we going to do? Okay, so then the study had to shift, and we shifted it to deciding, well, where is public internet available, and where should it be available for residents and equally as much for visitors and tourists in the town. And we started to identify areas with the help of Jason and others there at the town. And I'll just run right into this when I get up to the next slides. But basically what we did, we divided the entire focus or the entire outcome of the project into 3 separate phases. The first phase relies on the library system and the library facility, who currently have very robust internet available at their location, and they provide Wi-Fi internal to the building with a little bit of leakage, if you will, outside the building. They are looking at expanding that to kind of what I would call a campus-wide, to, the community center and the parking lot behind there, et cetera, out toward Washington Street, if not actually onto Washington Street. And that would include providing many access points, radios. They accomplish the same thing that your Wi-Fi or wireless router does at your home, but of course they're far more robust. They're outdoor, they actually are in the outdoors, handle the rain, heat, cold, etc. And so what we've done, or what we decided to do, is to run a fiber from the library building here across over to the town hall and the educational or the school building. Put up a tower there, a smaller tower, 20, 25 feet maybe. And then feed each of these access points with internet that then is available via Wi-Fi to end users, public people using the internet via Wi-Fi. And then once we have that in place, then let's bridge off of that and go to phase 2. See, this piece is still there. I don't have the radio showing, but they're still there. And then we shoot a signal all the way out to what would be a new antenna. This one would be taller, probably closer to a 100-foot tower. There's a little public works, I think it is, yard right there that would facilitate that. And then from there, we would shoot back to 4 of the parks that are in your town. And then from there, Right here is a radio. Then we go back to Wi-Fi again so that the public can go to any of these parks and get free Wi-Fi. And robust Wi-Fi, not like you might get sometimes. It would be usable Wi-Fi. Then the phase 3, this is Washington Street all along here. So what we've done is everything else is in place. We've still got the shot out to the tall tower. And then we shoot back to radios here, 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 and so on. And then those radios talk to the APs that are around them again. And so now you're setting up that same type of a network all along Washington Street, the Washington Street corridor. And then this just kind of shows it all at once. It doesn't show what is known as backhaul between the towers, but this is what it would look like. You could go to any of these areas in the town once all 3 phases were built out, and with the same password, the same sign-in, you could get in there and use, at least 100 by 20 internet service for no charge. So then what does something like this cost? Now, I have to warn you, these are estimates. And like everything else, estimates are going to go up over time. These are only a month or 2 old at this point, so they're pretty accurate. But this takes into account everything that would be needed to do each of the phases. So if you remember, this top one will get you from the library to the city hall and school. The next one will get you out to the parks, and then the next one would get you to Washington Street. And all 3 of those combined are the $500,000 number. Now, you could do phase 1 and phase 3, skip 2, but then it's not quite that simple. You'd have to, okay, what pieces of phase 2 do we have to put in anyway to get to phase 3? So there'd have to be discussion and figure that out from an engineering standpoint. I think you're up, Tom.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Dick. So the second part of the study was to identify and look at the aspects that would be needed to develop partnerships. Most of these types of projects work best, are the most sustainable, and successfully meet the goals and objectives. In other words, to provide access that truly has the capacity to meet the needs of the different constituencies. As Dick talked about, people at public gathering places, such as the parks, people walking along the Washington Street business corridor, so sort of fill in the gaps between what they can get inside the business and what would happen, outside, knowing that there's been some problems, for example, with cell service based on some of the problems during fires with cell towers being out of service, things like that. So we really looked at, what are the partnerships that could help us develop this in the most cost-effective way, and also focus on the totality of the public. So that would include key populations in the town, such as seniors, such as veterans, and others. So we started by having discussions with the broadband providers and system vendors. That's where we got some of the cost information. We talked to Comcast. Comcast has been working with some other jurisdictions on smart cities initiatives and talked to them about their concepts. Had a real interesting discussion with Valley Internet that already covers part of the town, but how they would approach it, and others in the broadband provider community. Then we wanted to make sure we got a sense of the business community. So we held a discussion with the Chamber of Commerce, got some anecdotal evidence on what their members were seeing. And we talked about, what would be the positive impacts that this enhanced broadband system could have on economic development in the town and workforce development, career opportunities, job creation, those kinds of things. One of the things that, in working with the Chamber, they decided to do is we developed a survey, and they worked with us to send it out to approximately 60 members of the Chamber, those that they felt would have some real insight into what these types of public access systems would be as far as a benefit to them or potentially not. 14 businesses out of the 60 responded and included a lot of hotel and restaurant providers. One was a tourism entity, and then several retail establishments. About half of the respondents indicated that they would be interested in this type of service because their current service didn't meet their current needs. And they talked about the fact that, in some cases the service was too slow or it was unreliable. They needed something more resilient. One of the entities told us how they actually had 2 fiber connections coming from 2 different providers to ensure that they always had the service that they needed, things like that. So then we asked them, well, would this be beneficial to you? And in some cases we had, people that skipped the question. So we had 13 out of the 14 respondents respond to that question, and 8 of them indicated that it would be beneficial to them, and they provided various reasons related to that. Dick, thank you. Then the beneficial or the benefit of having it in public places, not just to them, but their customers, clients, people who come to the town for special events and may come to their establishment, but also would be out in public spaces. 3 chose not to respond to that question, but then 8 of 11 did respond and said it would be beneficial to them. And they thought anything that expanded access and attracted people to their establishments in the town would be useful. The big question is always, well, would you be willing to help financially support the initial development and sustainability of such a system? In some cases, these systems have been developed in partnership with the Chamber of Commerce and the business community, and there's, sponsorship, there's advertising placement on splash pages, those kind of things. All of them indicated pretty much that they weren't sure yet. Some indicated that they didn't think so, but then when they gave the detailed comments, they said it was more a question for ownership rather than management, those kind of things. So one of the things we determined is that it got interesting feedback from the business community, but before you would move to like a phase 3, you'd really have to sit down with those along the Washington Street corridor and determine how it would best benefit them in order to implement it in a way that would not just benefit the public, but the establishments themselves. Okay, next slide. Discussions were held with potential public partners, including the Napa County Library and the Veterans Home. One of the things we identified right away is that the Napa County Library presents a substantial opportunity for partnership because they already have a current project underway to expand public Wi-Fi at the Yountville Library. And we discussed with them the specific possibility of expanding it into the town center complex that Dick showed in one of the diagrams. And the real key is to support this type of system, you need a lot of internet capacity. And so backhaul basically to the internet, the library provides that. In fact, they already have a 1 gig circuit, and they're looking at increasing that 10 times to a 10 gig circuit over time. That would provide plenty of capacity. And they're very interested, as long as it's accessed by the public, which is those that they serve within the library, but also could expand that service, into public spaces such as parks and other public places. They were very interested in continuing to pursue discussions and develop a partnership. We talked to them about the form of agreement. Memorandum of understanding could be developed. There's other more complex agreements like IGAs, intergovernmental agreements, but they were certainly interested in that type of MOU that would specify the roles and responsibilities, and we detailed those within the report itself. Dick, next slide. So overall conclusions and recommendations, summing up everything Dick has talked about and I've talked about, is that we really believe there's some synergy with the libraries to develop a memorandum of understanding and to cost effectively develop and deploy at a minimum the first phase of the public broadband Wi-Fi system. And when we say Wi-Fi, as Dick said, it's not just your average home Wi-Fi. It's designed to cover an entire area like a park or throughout a public facility or throughout a complex, knowing that you're working on redeveloping the old school complex. And with GigFi, you're talking about a very high capacity system that could meet a lot of public requirements. The MOU would address things, for example, like internet use policy. The library has a certain policy, and we know that the town has one as well, and melding those. The second piece, deploying it into public parks, as Dick said, it requires some additional equipment and another tower to hit 4 of the largest parks. So you could continue to work with the library to establish that, or you could work with a private vendor partner to expand the system from that point. And then, Dick, next slide. The last piece, phase 3, that really is then sitting down with the Chamber of Commerce and the business community to determine how it would best benefit them. Again, initial indications are that people see a benefit, but would want to know more and specifically identify about how they would be involved. Finally, one of the key things in all of these broadband feasibility studies that the California Public Utilities Commission that provided the LADA grant to the town wanted all of its all the people working on the LADA grants and the studies was to look at, not just deploying it, but how can we get people to adopt it? And you can leverage this system for broadband internet adoption spurring efforts. One of them is just making affordable access to the internet by the public. The other one is enabling the public through this system to gain access to digital skills training while utilizing the system. The library already does that at the Yountville Library and would be very interested in expanding that and working with the city to continue to enhance people's digital skills and to contribute to digital equity. Okay, so that's kind of the long and short of it. I know we went through a pretty detailed study pretty quickly. So we'll open it up for questions. Jason?
Yeah, before council's questions, I would just like to remind everyone that the results that you have just seen are a study and they are hypothetical. They're more of this is what you can do if you want to do and what it takes to do type of result. And I would just like to say that at this time, it is the staff's recommendation that the town continue discussions with the library regarding the bolstering of their publicly available Wi-Fi throughout town buildings and campuses, beginning with the community center and at Community Hall. And so now we can open it up to you guys for questions, council for questions.
Okay, so the question I have exactly on
microphone.
Thank you. The question I have exactly on what you just said. So it's great that the Napa County Library, and we have a branch here, has really put some time and effort into this. So basically, they would be having the router, if you will, and they could make that more. They could strengthen that so that we could actually get that to Town Hall and the Yountville Commons site. But would we have to run a fiber optic cable and a tower necessarily? I mean, is there like a no-cost option?
So no, we would not have to, and that's currently because we already have a fiber connection running from the community center back to Town Hall already.
Oh, good. So we wouldn't have to.
So we would not, and
pay for that. Great.
Any type of tower that would run on the common site right now would just be. It would be if we needed it, we would address that when we needed it, if we needed it. So the nice part about all of these phases is that the phase 1 itself can be broken into 2 or 3 different phases, and then phase 2 and it could be broken down into 2 or 3 different parks, and phase 3 could be opened up in a small side of Washington and then expand out. So when the study was created and when we finalized it, we really wanted to make sure that we could take implementation at a small step at a time.
So, for instance, we could call it phase 0, where we already have
1A, 1B, 1C,
yeah,
whatever.
or whatever would be a no-cost option. Just working with the Napa County Library so that we could actually tap into their high-capacity Wi-Fi line and run the Commons through that.
Yes, the library has been very generous with their time and with their offerings, and they have offered to place radios as long as we provide the building to hang them on. So they have offered to provide all of that, yes.
Okay, great. Vice Mayor Tripp.
And management also. It would be them managing their Wi-Fi.
Councilmember Tripp.
I wanted to thank the consultants for their presentation, but just ask, I saw the cost estimates for the 3 phases of the construction. Are there ongoing costs related to either maintaining the system or paying? I'm not quite sure how this works, if you have to pay a provider or any of that. So that was my question, ongoing costs.
I can answer that.
Yeah.
Yes, there are always ongoing costs because there's an infrastructure maintenance cost, and then there would be internet service provider costs as we bolster the internet if we were to take it on ourselves. If we continue engaging in discussions with the library, it would be their system that they fully own, so it would be at no cost to the town. Like I said, we would just enter into an agreement to allow them to hang their radios on our buildings.
Okay, thank you.
Vice Mayor.
If we were to go forward with an MOU with the library, is there a radius or a circumference in general of benefit for the businesses that along Washington Street? I mean, how far and
I
wide
assume
would
you're
that help?
just talking about phase one, like the phase one deployment. It would only be like out to the parking lot and then up to Washington Street from the library's main building, from the community center. And then the community hall would provide another extra bubble, if you will, of Wi-Fi that would extend 50 or so.
So there are a handful of businesses that would benefit within the bubbles?
Not through phase one, not necessarily through phase one, not completely. I mean, maybe.
So it's not in proximity that they can.
Yeah, it wouldn't be recommended that they discontinue their ISP service right now and use that Wi-Fi.
Okay.
Because also the library's Wi-Fi is generally for the public. It's not for businesses.
Yeah, I just didn't know if there was any kind of a benefit that they would get. And since the
Not
research was done previously for the south side of town for the communities and like Veterans Park and Veterans Home, and it was deemed strong enough, do we not need to look at that park any longer as we're looking at multiple phases? I mean, because one of the things that early on with broadband I wanted to see is if things that were taking place in the Veterans Park could be streamed up to the Veterans Home, and I was told, no, there's not a good enough signal to do that. So,
yeah. So if we extended into phase 2 or phase 3, then every location that would be covered with broadband capability. So it would be very robust signal, so to speak.
So it's more than Wi-Fi. It's like Wi-Fi.
Well, it's
on steroids.
It's very fast Wi-Fi.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilmember Knight.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for your presentation. I guess my just quick general question is, it seems like in reviewing this report, phase 1 is really using resources and technology that exists in town. Phase 2 and phase 3 seem to would require some type of towers in different parts of the community. I'm just curious now where we're at with in these times with technological changes. Could we find ourselves in maybe a few years seeing other types of forms of technology that would no longer require us to have 100-foot towers in town or 25-foot towers? I mean, I guess I'm wondering if it seems like not that I'm endorsing or want to support things like Musk's Starlight, but there's technology changes. Do you see from your experience with our consultants that near changes in the future to technology that would allow other ways for us to improve our broadband?
Got to get your crystal balls out, guys.
Yeah, I'd be happy to to go ahead and address that, and then Dick can jump in. We did actually look at connectivity in order to make it portable. You always want to have a wireless component. And by having it close, so say on light poles or telephone poles, and Dick looked at, for example, on the Washington Street corridor, putting it on light poles going down the antennas. The closer it is, the more capacity you can provide to an individual person, and it's portable. We actually looked at fiber to get it out to some of the parks and those kind of things, and it's very expensive, the construction of fiber. So the wireless was kind of the best cost-effective option to also maintain the portability. Satellite, such as Starlink, certainly has its place, but it doesn't have the capacity per location because it's a service that's shared between all that have Starlink and are accessing it at the same time. It's a contention-based service. So,
well, and tell them that does Starlink as well as that's a paid service, as opposed to what we're doing here or talking about doing here, which would be free to the public.
Right. And we're also leveraging the capability of the libraries, and they're bringing that internet backhaul in, by fiber. So we've got the highest capacity going to that point, and then trying to distribute it in the most cost-effective way possible. So, no, I think you're always going to have, because of the portability piece, you're always going to have and because wireline can carry a much higher degree of capacity than wireless, right? Because the wireless spectrum isn't reusable in the same location, whereas a piece of glass, you just keep adding on frequencies of light in order to provide more and more capacity. So I think you're always going to have this wireline, wireless hybrid network, and the wireless provides the portability. The other thing is it's not that it's future-proofed completely, but once you establish the infrastructure, you can just continue to change out the radios and get higher and higher capacity, because that's what's happening with wireless, such as Wi-Fi. I mean, it used to be that you were limited to, under 100 megabits on a Wi-Fi radio. Now you have GigFi, so you've got gigabit connections on one Wi-Fi radio. So that's kind of a long-winded answer to your question, and technology continues to evolve, but I think we've set it up so that in a cost-effective way, you can provide high capacity access at no cost, and over time, you'll still be able to use that effectively.
I think it's also important to note that with any significant infrastructure expenditure, that there's always going to be improvements released later on that might render that useless.
If I could throw one more thing in, the tall tower is of course going to be a concern for some, if not a lot of people. That can be moved to another location. The initial plan was to have it over across the highway, on or near Veterans Home property, so that tower could be moved to a location that's maybe more, a little easier to deal with from an aesthetic standpoint, if that's an issue. So then again, to Jason's point, starting out, these are all things that will, through engineering, studying, more surveying if needed, all of that can be worked out and worked around, and maybe with a shorter tower, you have a little bit taller tower at each park location, or there's all kinds of things you can do to change the final design.
Councilmember Tripp.
As we're talking, I do understand broadband and the importance relating to economic development, and a lot of federal funds have been provided for broadband to rural areas and whatnot to make sure that people can work and whatnot. But I'm thinking in my head, who's going to be using this and for what? Because we're talking here about a very robust system. So it's not just it could just be, it's a robust system. So it's more than a tourist who wants to send post some Instagram and is sitting at the community center, right? So most students and certainly all the employees in Yountville are going to go into the library. They're going to be working in the library, people who need high internet access. So I would need to understand a little bit who might actually be using such a robust system, and then also in part because it is a public system. So you're not going to be, nor would we really want to encourage people to be putting any sort of sensitive data up there or doing any sort of real work on there if you're inclined to work out in the community center, or even at your house on the public Wi-Fi. I might be able to get it at my house. I live really close to the community center, but I wouldn't want to give up my $100 bill a month because of the privacy. But then my related question is, so when you go to a hospital or a library or even an airport, I think they make you sign terms and conditions. And I think that, being an ex-lawyer, relates to some sort of liability. In other words, when you log on, you agree not to, I guess you're agreeing not to send porno or whatever, or maybe they just want to know who it is that's on their system. Would we have any log-on? Would we have any liability for such a robust system? In other words, not a small system, but a system where people could actually be sending and doing a variety of things.
Yeah, so that would be standard with any type of public Wi-Fi that we would offer in that with that kind of robustness. It's also important to remember that, especially when we're talking about phase one, this would be the library's Wi-Fi, and we are just allowing them to extend it a little bit through town and make it a little bit more accessible to people who might want to use Wi-Fi while sitting in the middle of the community center, or while sitting in a parking lot waiting to go to a gym, go to the wellness center, something like that. That's really what it would be for. And then also the especially regarding phase one, and then also it is important to remember that the library will be managing the system, and so they will be taking on, especially on phase one, they will be taking on all of the responsibility for the end user license agreements and that's.
Okay, so presumably then the individual would log on and do whatever they would need to do for the library, what the library has people do now.
Exactly. Most of the time they have to enter their library card number or something like that.
Okay, so the MOU or whatever agreement we would have would divvy up the liability associated with operating that system.
Yes.
Okay.
Because currently, right now, the library has, you can go there and log into the library system, or they have a public you can use. Mm-hmm. So they have like two systems. But I want to go back and explore this phase one, because it's my understanding that phase one on your document there says it's 133,000, but that's with running fiber and all the top towers. But there's another possibility that you can still explore with the library that seems likely, that just might be some radios that has a zero cost.
Exactly, and that is our staff recommendation, is to continue engaging in discussions with the library to see how the town can help them increase their presence in Wi-Fi.
And it fits within their MOU, which is for public education and
yes.
and public use. So, and that is something that we could find out. I don't know, maybe in the next few months, if that's what the feasibility of something like that would be. Because I agree with Councilmember Tripp that the parks are. Everyone walks around with their cell phone. Most cell phones all have 5G. You can use them as a hotspot if you want to stream a movie on your iPad there. I just really can't see the need. And I think there was a great survey you did with the chamber, because, once you got like 24% people even responding, and only 40% of those said, oh, I might be interested. And then it went down to, 5% of the 40% of the 24, which is a really small percent. Oh, it might cost you money. We'd really have to think about that. So I don't really see that, they're interested. They have Wi-Fi now, and even in the restaurants, I think you should be eating food and drinking wine and not like watching videos myself. So, but if they don't want to provide Wi-Fi there, but still you can use your 5G, on your phone. So I just can't find, the need for this myself. So that's really what I want to So that is your recommendation, is to, really just kind of stay with, being able to provide fast enough speeds, which we already have in Town Hall, but also for the rest of the Yountville Commons, right? Working with the library. And that seems to be something that they can do with their MOU.
Through an MOU, yeah, that
Yeah.
seems to be something that
Because
they
once
can
we have it in the parks, or people can do it, who are they going to call when something goes down or they make a mistake? It's like a utility.
Correct.
I think water and wastewater is all I really want to deal with right now in terms of utilities. But Vice Mayor McKee.
I want to express a concern in a town our size, if we were looking at towers, that we are, especially the one that is out off of Yount Street, that the property values around towers and within visibility generally go down. In fact, this says on average 2.5% to 9.5%. So we have to be sensitive if we were moving forward to try to do any radio towers, that we have to put them in strategic locations.
And as a scientist, I can tell you there's a lot of misconceptions about towers. And then they think it's ionizing radiation when it's not. And
I didn't go there.
I don't want to go there. So I've been down
there. But cost as far as view and what is that in your backyard?
Yeah, and everyone, it's they'd still have to pay for this utility.
Correct.
Because these are just, we got it going. Okay, who's the subscribers, right? That's how it would work. And then if we did any of that, who do they call when it goes down?
Yeah.
And when a cell tower burns up in a fire, or the service you have isn't robust enough during a fire to have it connect, it's still going to go down.
Yeah, there is some liability with rolling out phase 2, phase 3. Correct.
Okay. Councilmember Reeves. And then I'll go to the public.
I wanted to reiterate my support for just doing this modified phase 1, which is just working with the library and having those, whatever you call them, radios.
Access points, radios.
Access points. But I also wanted to remind the council that we have been down this road before with the previous council, and that the idea of having Wi-Fi in a park was a single council person's idea. And I feel like we had the discussion of towers in town all along Washington Street that were going to be 60 feet tall. And we did decide at that point that that was not a good idea for Yountville, and nobody supported that version of convenient Wi-Fi. So, and I agree with the mayor, almost everyone has a smartphone. And we are now connected way more than we need to be. And if you can't get a signal, maybe you need to do something else.
Yeah, go have dinner and a glass of wine and enjoy
Right.
yourself.
And I do believe that having Wi-Fi in the courtyard of the community center would be a great activation of that space, especially if we put a little bit more activity-centered things just for hanging out. And I would support doing that.
We can do that now. That's definitely, you can do that now. There's 2 systems you can log on to, public or the library.
Outside of the library?
Oh, yes, all the way to the street. Yep, it's very robust, as we know. Very robust. Okay, public comment. Okay, we have no public comment. So, do you have direction from us?
I do. The way I heard it is I'm going to continue to engage with the library in seeing how the town can support them in, I hesitate to use the word more robust, but make their current Wi-Fi system more accessible.
Okay. And so that's the modified phase 1 not at the 133,000, just to be clear.
Correct.
Thank you. All right. That's a wrap. All right. Thank you very much they're already buzzed off. All right.
Thank you.
They're gone.
Thanks.
All right.
Thank
so we are on item 13, council external reports. I have, let's see, my pile here. I can do it quickly, I promise. Flood control, March 18th. We had a presentation with the near final numbers from the North Bay Aqueduct for those who are paying into that system. They're going to get 60% of their allocation this year. That's determining all the snowpack and flows on different dams and all sorts of complicated stuff I won't get into. We also discussed renewing our membership with the North Bay Watershed Association, and after I gave my support, the chair nominated me to fill that board seat from the flood control. So I always have a hard time saying no, so I accepted. So now I am representing flood control on the North Bed Watershed Agency. So this is an agency that was started about 25 years ago. Sonoma, Marin, Napa, and parts of Solano County, they'll all have watersheds that go from the Eel River all the way down to the Golden Gate Bridge, are members of this agency, and I'll be filling you in. I think Friday's my first board meeting. And then they also give out grants, so I always like having possible grants, so I will fill you in on that. Then we had a second flood control meeting on March 25th. We had 2 public hearings. There were closed sessions on both of these meetings where we're still negotiating with the final property owners along the next phase of the flood wall. We're getting close, and we're really trying to get through this so we can start the build and not get behind. But we had 2 public hearings. We approved resolutions of necessity, which is just another term for beginning the eminent domain proceedings for those who, want to go down that route. That doesn't mean during those eminent domain proceedings, we can still negotiate. So hopefully we'll be able to come to good agreement there. LAFCO, I'm meeting on Monday, April 7th. MVTA, we met, and I'll let the Vice Mayor fill in too. We also met Wednesday, March 19th. The majority, we had a couple things I wanted to highlight in MVTA. We talked about, we got a draft plan for an accessible transportation needs assessment, and a lot of this really has to do with our aged community that sometimes, buses to doctor's appointments don't work, and other thoughts for another system. We also talked about, we had some funding to also look at the Solano North Napa Bay passenger rail feasibility. $100,000 didn't really go very far. It would be a very complex, very expensive project. I'm not holding my breath, but we'll see what happens on that one. And we are having on April the 14th all-day interviews for our finalists we're getting a new executive director. We did have a technical working group interview our applicants. They were going to, they're going to help advise the board on each of the candidates and their real ability from a technical viewpoint of being able to do this job. And so we'll be getting their assessments soon. And April 16th, MVTA, we have a pretty much all-day strategic planning meeting. So, Vice Mayor, do you have anything to add on MVTA?
Just to highlight, the accessible transportation needs assessment studied existing conditions and reviewed past plans and reviewed trip pattern data. They're building upon partnerships with healthcare providers, services to medical facilities in neighboring counties, and they're trying to institute a dedicated mobility manager. The strategy is partnering with agencies like Molly's Angels and other nonprofits that are currently doing that work, but just to up our game plan for transportation for persons of need. We authorized the executive director, and whether that will be Kate Miller or the replacement, to enter and make minor modifications to make an agreement for the Solano Transportation Authority and Solano Napa North Bay passenger rail feasibility study in the amount not to exceed $125,000. Putting together a plan using what's in place in efforts to move forward on a shoestring budget, but to at least find out what would be feasible in the area. That's about it. I want to again give a shout out to Ashley Tenscher. She brought forward some time point stop metrics that are generated and that we can focus more on that on our April 16th retreat. Thank you.
Councilmember Knight, meeting reports.
Thank you. Just a quick report. Last Friday, I went down to Burbank as a part of the Cal City's Environmental Quality Policy Committee, and we had a public safety power shutoff presentation from Southern California Edison. Very much like what we've heard from Mark Van Gorder and PG&E, the process that they went through, primarily because of the fires in Southern California with power safety shutoff, and then a lot of legislation review just having to do with clean energy and just energy in general, and concerns about energy usage and development of energy around supplying power to data centers, where there's these very large data centers in communities, and just the communities being concerned about being aware of how that power usage in those data centers would affect their planning. And then a piece of legislation that Assemblymember Schultz is carrying. It's in 2025. We're updating every 3 years the state building standards codes, and he's carrying legislation that would basically stop or basically prevent any state building code standard updates until 2031, basically skipping 2 cycles. And so in the Housing Policy Committee, they voted about 85% for that legislation to shut down the state building code standards updates, and also which would affect cities' REACH codes and their ability to update and maybe ask for better standards in their community. So Housing Policy Committee said they supported that legislation, and the Environmental Quality Policy Committee by about 85% said, no, we don't support that, and recommend that the Cal Cities Board not support it because they're concerned about preempting local control. And that was our message, that cities should have some influence on future building standard updates.
Thank you. Do we have any staff updates you want to talk about, Brad?
I'm looking at the department heads first, and I have a couple things I'd like to report.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Samantha Holland, your Parks and Recreation Director. And Margie Mayor Moeller, had already mentioned April 18th is our shredding event and e-waste recycling at the community center, the townwide yard sale on May 3rd, and then May 10th is the townwide cleanup day. And then as a reminder, May 17th is our 14th annual Art Sip and Stroll event here in Yountville. And you can find more information at artsipstroll.com. if you're interested in a tasting package. And lastly, I just wanted to share the exciting news that our summer recreation guide will be in mailboxes at the end of this week and show our full lineup of programs for the summer. So thank you.
Apologies, I did not have a bullet point list of things to talk about, but as you know, we are deep into mid-cycle budget that we will propose some adjustments to the 25-26 budget year to the Town Council on May 20th.
Thank you. Aaron Heacock, Planning and Building Director. Just a quick update on the Humboldt project. It is still in process. We're working through some things. So it won't be ready for the ZDRB on April 8th, so that meeting will be canceled. But I do think it will likely be going to the ZDRB in May. So that's all.
Good afternoon, John Ferns, your Public Works Director. I was going to report about the water situation out on Silverado Trail. You heard about that. I would also like to give you a preview that in the coming days, you will see construction fencing go up at the community center for the barbecue enhancement project that's beginning. So there's construction fencing out there. It's going to be placed after the rain, and then work will commence inside that construction zone. And finally, we just completed some concrete grinding throughout town on publicly owned sidewalks to mitigate tripping hazards throughout on public property. And then with that, I'll hand it to Hillary.
Hillary Gady, Communications Director and Town Clerk. Following up on Director Ferens, we are excited that we will be doing community cookouts again this summer with the enhanced barbecue features, dates forthcoming, and also be holding the second annual Yountville Night Out. I will be sending a save the date and issuing a call for neighborhood host volunteers in the coming weeks. Also in the clerk world, we will have some vacancies coming up for our Yountville Arts Commission as well as the Zoning and Design Review Board. There are 3 seats available on each of those boards, and we will be opening that recruitment April 11th, 30 days through May 12th, with the hopes of interviewing on June 3rd. So information will be available on our website. We will be also posting that on social media. And so if you are interested in serving your community in either of those capacities, please submit your application. So, and that's it.
April 11th is when people can go online and get an application.
Correct. And it will be a 30-day window closing on May the 12th.
And I know you're going to upgrade the barbecue, but the bar area is getting upgraded too, right?
Well, you will see both.
I mean,
I was
am I wrong? There is a bar area, right?
No, you're right.
You'll see this come alive over the next month and a half, right, in essence. So what's going to happen is what was the barbecue area is going to become a bar, and then we're going to create an outdoor kitchen, which will be where you saw the hedge come down. So that'll be more of a complex. We're calling it an outdoor kitchen, but it does have both a bar and a cooking area.
Be very popular.
So it should be great, yeah. And I want to thank everyone for their updates, first of all. I do appreciate, I know the council appreciates hearing, what's going on in town. We'll continue to, try to enhance these so that, we can obviously keep the community, now that our communications director / town clerk is back. I think the Yountville Connection, other things that we're doing, obviously will continue to move forward, but sort of more in a rhythm that follows council meetings and so forth. So, with that noted, I wanted to.
And Hillary has a couple questions before if you can move into a different item.
I just 2 questions. One, I wanted to ask Director Holland, because we have some popular summer rec programs. When is the sign up for town residents? I know it will hit the mailbox, but I don't want to miss the sign-up date.
Yeah, absolutely. So resident registration begins Wednesday, April 16th.
Okay.
And then 7 days later, on the 23rd, we open to the general public. Okay. So Yountville residents have that 7 days to register.
Okay.
And mainly the programs that fill up the quickest are the summer camp programs. And so that's an important date to remember. Yeah.
And then, thank you. And I also wanted to ask our town clerk. So are the town council's Form 700s for Yountville due today?
Form 700s
I need to know my homework tonight.
Correct. You will need to complete that, yes.
Okay, thank you. And that's the town, you have to go through the town of Yountville's site, not the FPCC site, correct?
You are a different type of filer than town staff. You would be an 87200 filer, and you are required to do that through the FPPC website effective this year. That is new, and I hope we've provided enough information, but if you need more, we're happy to assist you after the meeting.
Okay, thank you.
And you sent out an email, and there's a link if you have that one.
I did not see that. Okay, thank you.
There was an email, I think, from Cammie, right?
And also the FPPC also sent communications to you, so we're happy to help you right after the meeting.
Okay.
And
click it, and you can fill in all the other commissions you're on to.
Thank you.
All right. Town manager.
Okay. I was going to mention, and I'm looking at Hillary, but I do know that we intend to cancel the next regular meeting on the 15th, even though I see it says we're adjourning to that. So I'm not sure how we're adjourning out today.
We're going to adjourn out to to May 6th because we couldn't put that on here because we hadn't approved the consent yet.
Got it. Okay. So I did want to mention to you all know, to the community, that we do intend to have a special meeting on April 29th, which will be our goal-setting workshop. Still working on the details of that, but once we know that, we'll make that. And then there will be a May 6th, and then you heard Celia talk about May 20th. It's the mid-cycle budget meeting. So that is kind of a forecast in terms of the next several meetings. I wanted to thank a lot of people. If you noticed, we finished a lot of the finishing touches here in the chambers and outside in the lobby and at our counter. And really, it was a team effort because I think like Cammie was super involved, Celia was involved, John was involved, Sam was involved. I'll leave Aaron out because he wasn't involved. No, I'm teasing him, but. It was a group effort. You know, these things don't come easy. Let me put it this way. There's a lot of like stories to tell in terms of things that showed up broken, or, you know, Jason's been hanging TVs like a champ over there.
The biggest ever.
Yeah, we got the new TV went in the Locals Lounge today, which will be exciting when we open that. Everyone will have a really nice big screen TV. But I just wanted to thank everyone for all the work because I think everything has come together. I want to say we're done, with the exception of an aerial photo that came in bent that was going to go up right there. So that'll probably be at the next meeting. But the intent was to finish for this meeting. It took a lot of work to do it. So thank you for all that contributed to that effort. And then as it relates to the Commons next door, most of you know that the farm stand did open a few weeks ago. I've gotten a lot of questions. I know Sam is getting questions in terms of what's going on, what the hours, what are we doing, on and on. We are taking like a seasonal approach to the farm stand. And I think this starts with the first season of like us figuring out some things, including operating hours. The intent is to be open 6 days a week, which would be every day except Monday, from sort of 7:30 to 3-ish. We're trying to figure all these things out. So bear with us as we go through this soft seasonal opening. We were talking just today about when we should have a grand opening. I believe the Locals Lounge, depending on furniture, will be open in the month of April. So that'll be an opportunity, which is kind of this thing we've been talking about, to have a place for locals to go. Not only if they get a bowl of soup or a cup of coffee, but there is a 100-inch TV in there now that we can have games on in there. There will be Wi-Fi, back to our earlier subject. So this will be a really good gathering place. It's attached to Yountville Fit, but it's not part of Yountville Fit, so you don't have to be a member. You can just use that. And so that'll be open. And then,
yes, we can have one.
I think my intention, and I will always give sort of updates as needed, but I think to have quarterly updates on the Commons will be something I will work with Hillary and everyone else to make sure everyone knows what's going on as we transition into the planning phase. And then, I think that covers all the things I want to say. So thanks for a good meeting, and appreciate all the work that's being done in the town. And I think that, as we move into goal setting, I'm moving into sort of the second year, which has been, I think, when you start to work on goal setting, it starts to make you reflect. But I do think there's so much to be done, and I think obviously the priority is next door. But when I hear Jason and I hear other people, they're getting things done, it's I just have gratitude for all the work that's getting done in this town.
Okay.
Thank you for your support.
And it's not raining. I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn and a second to our May 6th meeting that is technically starting at 3 o'clock, but we might have an earlier session, so stay tuned. I'm not sure, probably too early to say, but at least this regular meeting will adjourn to our May 6th regular meeting.
Deputy Town Clerk did note we will be adjourning to the goal setting workshop on April the 29th.
Oh, good. Okay, good catch.
We have that, Deputy.
April
I move
29th.
to adjourn until April 29th.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Nobody's opposed, nobody's abstaining.
Okay.
And we are going to raise a quick flag, and everyone can go home after that. We're raising a flag. Yeah.
The 28th is my birthday. I heard it. No gifts.
Oh, so you're bringing cupcakes
I'll
in?
bring cupcakes.
All right.
yes.
All right.
The 20 of April?
You said you'll bring cupcakes on the 29th?
Or something.
The birthday girl shouldn't have to, but I think, okay. Definitely, maybe we can go to the town bar.
That's so Yountville, though. You gotta love Yountville.